Hi, it's Michelle Fox from Michelle Fox Beauty, and today we're going to do a really simple holiday look. This is for my girls who don't wear makeup every day, and you will be astonished at how simple it is. We're just going to focus on eyes, cheeks, lips, so don't go anywhere. That's coming up next. For our eyes, I'm going to use some colors from the Stone Cold Fox collection from ColourPop, and I'm going to be using the brushes that I talked about on my business page, Michelle Fox Beauty Over 40 on Facebook. We're going to use the three brushes that I said were the basic three for someone just starting out learning how to use makeup brushes, but I might add a couple just at the end for myself. But the colors that we're going to use today, I have to tell you while my glasses are on because I won't be able to see it after this. And as you can see, I have to color code it because when I'm doing my makeup, I can't see these colors at all. Like I can't see the names. And some of them look dark, but they actually go on really light. So I did a color code system where yellow means it's a good highlight, orange means it's a good mid-tone, and so on. So, I tell you what, I've had to come up with all kinds of ideas. Anyway, so what we're going to do is we're going to use Stranger and So Fine for our highlight colors, Stone Age for our mid-tone, and Gravity Hill for our accent. And I think we'll probably line with Play It Coal. So get it? Stone Age? You're Stone Cold? Whatever. All right. So we're going to start with the brush that I said is like the most basic brush that everyone needs. It's just usually called something like an all over eyeshadow brush. This brush is from Robert Jones. It's number 22. It's usually a flat, sort of a squarish head. And if you are only wearing one color, which is always an option, you would just dip into a middle of the road shade, something that's definitely going to show up. So it's darker than your skin tone. And if you're only wearing the one color and it's a holiday, you can go crazy and get something that matches your outfit. I mean, it's fine to do blue or green or something like that. I'm sticking with, very simple colors. These are sort of pinkish browns. And I'm just going to show you where you would apply eye color if you're only using one color and one brush. Okay. We're going to show one and then with two and then with three. Okay. So I'm using this original all over eyeshadow brush, and you want to apply it just on the almond shaped part of your eye. So this area here, your mobile eyelid. When I'm using more than one color, I do not put anything this dark on my lid. But if I'm only using one, then I don't want to use something super light. I want to use something that's definitely going to show up. Light colors show up, but they show up in a different way. You'll find out in a sec. So this is sort of like a middle of the road color, thus called mid-tone. And we're just covering up this almond shaped part of our eye. And in a moment, I'm going to show you how different it looks when your eye is open, okay? Depending on our age and our eye shape, our eye looks quite a bit different open than closed. And then we're going to have to make some adjustments so that it looks almond shaped. My eyes are droopy. They're getting droopier as I age. They've always been downturned. But because of that, I will have to lift this color, and I'll show you what that means. So like I said, this is just sort of a medium, cool undertone brown, has a little bit of pink in it. And I'm using an all over eyeshadow brush, and I'm just putting it on the, proper part of my mobile lid. Okay. So when I open my eyes, everything sort of drags down. So I like to bring it up a little bit, bring that color up. If you can imagine like an outline, instead of my eye looking like really round like it does right now, I want there to be sort of a point out here. So I'm sort of drawing an almond shape by bringing that color out a little bit on the side and up a little bit. So if you can imagine like a marker or something, now I'm drawing this almond shaped area by extending this medium shade out a little bit further. Boy, I almost feel like I want to take a Sharpie and do that, but I think you get the point. So like right now when I open up my eye, it looks kind of round or even flat-ish. So I want to make it look more almond shaped by extending that color out, giving it a little bit of a point sort of, and then bringing it up a little bit. Okay, and now I want these two to match. And this is the same color that I started out with. So this is just my medium or my mid-tone, and I'm still using my all over brush. All righty. So if that is all you want to do, that's that. That's how easy that is. You would just probably take a bigger, fluffier brush and smooth out those edges so that you can't really see where it starts and stops, and put on a little mascara, and you're good to go. And like I said, if you're choosing to do a blue or something else, that's fine because you're not really having to work with any other colors. But if we're going to introduce a second color, then I would actually use that same size brush. So let's see. I'm going to clean this one off. Normally, if I'm using more than one color, I'm going to put a light color on my lid, and I'm going to save this medium color only for the crease. So by adding a second color here, we're actually kind of switching gears and using a slightly different approach. You'll see as we go along. So now I'm going to dip into a matte light color. And this is what I would have done right from the beginning if we were using two eye colors. I'd put the lighter color really close to my lid. On both sides. And also under my brow. Your lightest color is drawing attention. And usually we like attention to be on our lids as we're, looking and moving and talking. It looks flattering to have our lid featured, I guess. And then also under our brow, it really emphasizes our brow bone. And I'm going to do a little something else with that too in a second. So now I'm using that same all over brush, but we're kind of switching things up. Where if I were to use two colors, I would start with the lightest and I would put it on my lid close to my lashes and underneath my brow. All right. And if I were using two colors, this is the point where I would take that blending brush, the long tapered blending brush or mid-tone brush, dip into that middle color that we've already used. And this is where you do the windshield wiper motion in the center. We've already deposited some color in there, so it's not going to make much of a difference at this point. But if we hadn't put anything there yet, we would really need this. And another word for your mid-tone shade is your transition color. And right now, that's what it's helping you do. It's helping you transition from light to dark. And I'll show you that because we're going to add a third color. But if that was all you wanted to do, if you just wanted to use those 2 brushes and those 2 shades, you'd be good to go. Some mascara, maybe a little liner, and that's that. Very, very simple. But of course, I don't like to keep things simple. I'm going to do one thing before we move on to the accent color. I'm going to dip into that shimmer shade, which was the first one that I mentioned. And I'm going to put that, I'm going to layer that on top of the other light color underneath my brow, since this is sort of a party look, a holiday look. And the area under my brow is not crepey, it's not droopy. So I'm okay with adding something with some shimmer, but I'm going to sort of dust it off a bit so that it blends. And then I'm going to take a pointed Q-tip and dip it into that same shimmery color. And I'm just going to dot that by my tear duct. That opens up your eyes, and it's just a very subtle thing to add, but it does make it look really kind of extra fancy, especially at night when the light hits it. The accent shade can be applied with a variety of brushes. One of them would be something with a smaller head, more compact, like this. Like sometimes it's called like a contour brush or an accent brush. This is Robert Jones number 13. And the idea here would be to just use sort of a dot of color in this outer corner and then sort of fan it out, or actually in like a V shape on each side. You could also go back with a brush that is a little smaller than what you started with and just use that shape to guide you with your accent color. But we're going to stick with the 3 brushes that I talked about in my video on Facebook. So we're using this kind of a brush. I load it up and then I tap off the excess. It's easier to work with that way. And then again, thinking about that almond shape that I'm trying to create, I think of where is the point, the outer edge of that almond shape, my fake almond shape. And I'm going to put this dark color like where that would be. So I'm just sort of dotting that there. And then how I said, you're going to come in, feather it in sort of a like an arrowhead or a V shape, a sideways V, and then keep brushing that in. So we've got a very compact head. So this is not very good at blending. Right now, we're really just laying it down. I'm spreading it, but it's still because of it's compact, it's really kind of precise, and we're going to need to blend that out. Okay. So once we've got that laid down, we can come back with your blending brush, which you also use for your midtone, and just kind of swoosh that around to help blend that out. And then bring it into that crease to blend it with your middle color. And the idea of that accent is to sort of lift everything, give it a little more drama out here, but primarily it's to give it some lift. All right, I'm dipping into my darkest color, tapping off the excess, imagining my almond, and then dotting this out here, and then feathering it in. My eyes are different shapes, different sizes, and they're located in different areas of my face. So I'm always kind of looking back and forth to see what's what. And I'm blending it by just sort of swooshing this around and then bringing it in toward the mid-tone. So these colors are very similar. They're just sort of like one degree of darkness apart. So I've got three colors, very, very similar that I'm working with. So it should be a very subtle look overall. Alrighty. And we discussed in the second video how to line our eyes with a liner brush using our powder shadow. And I'm going to go ahead and do that because we need to line it with something. And honestly, if you don't use eyeliner ever, I think you'd be surprised at how easy it is to use eyeshadow to line your eyes with. You just need a really skinny brush, a liner brush. You dip into your darkest color. You may even want to wet your brush. That will keep your line even more precise. We are going to use a technique where we just press and lift and press and lift. So I am pressing this brush really close to my lashes, lifting it, pressing right next to it, lifting it, and keep moving it that way rather than just trying to go straight across. If it's easier, you can hold your eye down like this. And then once you have it all the way across, turn it over and go back and sort of smooth it. You've got product on both sides. Might as well use that up. And like I've mentioned so many times, my eye is droopy. So if you want to try to give it a little bit of lift, you want this tail to be a little bit thicker than the rest. And I wait until most of the product is off so that you really can't screw it up. Okay, you're just building up that product, but it's going to be very, very subtle. And dip back in, tap it off, and then do the same thing underneath, but I only go about maybe a third of the way. You don't have to do anything with the lashes underneath, or you can just leave that bare. But usually when I'm using powder, I like to do top and bottom. All right, so again on this side, it doesn't matter if you start in this, toward your nose and move out or the other way around. All right, so for cheeks, I tried for the first time Color Pop. It's like a cream to powder formula. Let's see, it is called Super Shock Blush. And this color is called Between the Sheets. It is a matte, sort of a berry shade. And I had no idea how to apply it at first. I tried a variety of things, but I landed on just a traditional cheek brush. As far as cheeks go, if you don't typically wear blush, I would pinch your cheeks and go with whatever the natural color of your flushed cheeks are. And my latest and greatest thought is going way back to the 80s and 90s, where we used to start at our temple and bring it down along our cheekbone, but not too close to our nose or too low on our face. That way, it just sort of keeps everything really lifted. And, thoughts on that come and go. And I don't think there's anything wrong with using the method where you focus on the apple of your cheek. But this way, I always really liked because my cheeks are not particularly sculpted. And so anything that gives me more of a lifted look is a bonus. So just keeping that really simple. And then we're just going to finish up with some gloss. And because this is a simple look, I wanted to keep the gloss very light and natural. A couple of thoughts there. People worry about gloss either getting into the creases around their lips or just not lasting all day. So you want to make sure that you invest in a good quality lip gloss. But another thing that will help is if you use a liner. So I'm going to line my lips. This is a Mary Kay liner, and it is called Medium Nude. And you just sort of outline the Cupid's bow, the V at the top, and then do short strokes down each side. As we age, we lose the definition of our lips. And that's what makes it appear smaller, is that there's not that crisp, noticeable definition between where our lips end and where the skin starts. And in addition to that, your lips can start to look uneven during that process. And that's been my biggest struggle, is if I don't line, they can look very uneven. You can also put the liner all over your lips. Let's do that. That's another way to help the look last longer. If you want a really matte look, you could just leave it like that. But I definitely want to do a glossy look. There are lip primers that you can purchase that help your lipstick stay longer, and you can even use an eye primer on your lips. Okay, this is also from Mary Kay. It's my favorite shade. It's called Sheer Illusion. It can be worn alone or it can be layered on top of something else. It's just a really pretty pearlescent shade. And even though it's very light, sort of a nude shade, I think because of the pearlescence, it can look really glam. You see that? So pretty. I'm gonna layer that on top. I love this color. I've never been a big fan of lip gloss, but I have to say, of all the glosses I've ever tried, the newest line from Mary Kay, the ultimate lip gloss line from Mary Kay, is fantastic. It's not sticky or tacky. It lasts a long time, and the color is just really true and really beautiful. There is pearl, shimmer, and cream, so they don't all have this pearlescent look. It depends on what shade you're wearing, but I highly recommend those lip glosses. All right, so that is just a very simple holiday look if you want to keep everything very soft and natural. If you want to take things up a notch, like I said, you could wear your eye color to match your outfit. Of course, you can wear any shade of gloss, but this is something that I think just about anyone would feel comfortable wearing because it's not too it doesn't scream like, hey, I've got holiday makeup on, but yet it's a little bit more than what you might wear on the regular. So hopefully that taught you a little something new. Anytime that you feel like something doesn't look quite right, it usually just needs a little bit of blending. Don't be afraid to go back and change things, add things. The biggest piece of advice that I have is that your eyes don't match, your eyebrows don't match, that's fine. There's nothing you can do about it. But you want to at least try to make sure that you have like the same amount of color on each side. So if you feel like one side is more intense than the other, you're going to need to sort of tone that down and just work with it until you feel like there's a balance. Don't work for perfection, just work for good enough. I've had to learn that myself. And, if you feel pretty great, if you don't, then take it off and try again or not. It's all about you enhancing your features and feeling good about yourself, feeling pretty, feeling empowered. And if this doesn't do that for you, then don't do it. All right. So hopefully you learned a little something. If you did, let me know in the comments, and I will see you next week with another look a little more dramatic. Alrighty, I'll see you then.